Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. As always, I greet you with that greeting because we have people listening in all different time zones, even though I am live here in Vero Beach, Florida, on the Eastern time zone. But you never know where people are listening from or whether they're listening on the podcast around the world. So today, I have the joy of having a friend of mine who is a brilliant doctor on the show, who has a new book out that I think every woman should read. And I think even every man should read too, because the book is just so powerful. It's called The Hormone Fix. Burn fat naturally, boost energy, sleep better, and stop hot flashes the Keto-Green Way. And I'm just so glad that she was able to take time from her crazy doctor schedule and her book schedule to be on the show today. So, Anna, thanks for being with us.
It is always a pleasure, Laura. It is always a pleasure. We get into some cool stuff when we chat, so I'm looking forward to it.
I know. It's like, okay, I could just chat with you for hours and hours and hours, and I so have to get up to Georgia to actually see you as soon as I can do a long drive again, which I'm going to have surgery on my ear, so hopefully that'll fix things.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too as well. And, you know, I read your book when it was in pre-release, and now it's out, and it's a USA Today bestseller, correct?
Yes, thank you. Still number one on Amazon and in women's health, menopause, so I'm really excited about that. It's been hanging in there and getting great feedback.
Well, what I like about it is your book, you know, asks us a lot of great questions, which is, you know, I'm all about the questions, but it made me think about what I knew about menopause, about symptoms, about health in a very different way. And that doesn't happen a lot for me with a lot of medical books, because a lot of them just sort of say the same thing slightly differently. But you really took this whole idea of diet and keto and made it your own. And, you know, you talk about the Keto-Green Way, but I think we need to start a little bit differently. Number one, I know people think they know what keto is, but from conversations I've had with people and prep for this interview, I know that not everybody has the same definition. So could we start with that, explaining what keto really is and why people should be thinking about it, and then talk about how you developed what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when we hear keto everywhere, right? But what is it exactly? And there are different definitions, but ultimately when we're talking about keto, we're talking about a ketogenic approach or getting into ketosis. And ketosis is getting into a fat-burning stage where we're using fat molecules or ketones for fuel over glucose, which is our usual fuel source. You know, and when we get into more of a starvation mode or a very restricted carbohydrate mode, so there's less incoming carbohydrates or glucose, we shift over to using ketones. And something that I explored, like, it's different. My program is different because I had to figure out what worked for me, right? What worked for me, that it wasn't textbook, right? It wasn't fad. It was like what works for me and what works for other women in our transition time period, in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, right? Because it's different. And this is something I always emphasize when I speak. I'm like, you know, women, we're a bit different than men, right? Just a bit.
Quite a bit.
And so it's different. So men and athletes and, you know, 10 times more testosterone than women. 10 times more testosterone than women, but here's the catcher that blew my mind, Laura, when I read it, when I was digging into the research to understand what was happening to me as I was transitioning into my Keto-Green Way and why I need to make it green. So men also produce 6 times more estrogen in their brain than women.
Okay, wait a minute. Men produce more estrogen than women?
In their brain.
We
produce estrogen in our brain, but we produce estrogen in our brain, but produce the majority of it from our reproductive organs, from our ovaries.
Okay.
okay, and conversion from DHEA, from our adrenal hormones, right?
Right.
And so, but we produce estrogen in our brain. Men do too, but they produce 6 times more because they rely on more testosterone. They rely on, they don't have ovaries. Big surprise, guys, right? And so that blew my mind. Well, this is what happens. So we want to use ketones for fuel, and when we're going through menopause, we are losing progesterone and estrogen. These are neuroprotective hormones. So here, let me tie back into the brain. When to use glucose for fuel in the brain, this is an estrogen-dependent process. So all of a sudden, we restrict the amount of estrogen available. We're not using our brain fuel source as well if we're relying on glucose because ketones aren't available. So what happens? Anxiety, depression, mood swings. Anyone listening experience any of those?
Oh God, all of them, me.
Right, exactly. Well, this is like the wrong gasoline in the engine at this time. You know what I mean? So that just blew my mind because in this overlap, there's this overlap between PMS, perimenopause. There's an overlap between perimenopause and going into the menopausal transition with symptoms of essentially glucose starvation in the brain, like or estrogen deficiency in the brain. The symptom overlap: insomnia, wakefulness, exhaustion, anxiety, brain fog, depression, memory loss. Again, if I said that twice, that's my problem. So you're still working on it. No, but that's true. Amongst the other hormonal symptoms, the reproductive tract symptoms, the irregular periods, the breakthrough bleeding, the ovarian cyst formation, this transition that happens to us as women, we focus as gynecologists. I'm a trained board-certified gynecologist. We focus on this reproductive tract, but what's happening in our brain at the same time, and so. That for me was mind-blowing. Do you see that? Do you see that overlap, this transition? This is where women are getting benzodiazepines for sleep, are getting anti-anxiety and antidepressant medications, and lo and behold, that exponentially increases our risk for Alzheimer's, those 2 medications each. So, yeah.
So basically...
And I went off on a tangent, Laura, didn't I?
No, it's fine. I was going, oh my God, I've got all these symptoms. I have to go back on your program, the Keto-Green, and figure out a way to make it work for me as well with my lifestyle. And I know we're going to talk about that because my experiences, I use myself as a guinea pig, as you know, all the time for my listeners. But so doing the keto, getting ketos to work properly in the body can help. It helps with the hormones because it helps the brain begin putting out the hormones that it needs to and gets our body to begin. But I don't know, keto, I don't do well on it because everything I've read about it prior to your stuff was eat a lot of fat. I can't eat a lot of fat. My body just rejects it.
Right. So you have to do keto differently for you, but the same process, we got to get you into ketosis to get you this brain and mental clarity. So getting into ketosis is key. I really believe that, but we have to do it the healthful way. And same thing I found out, and I hit menopause. You read my story, read my book, The Hormone Fix. I hit menopause at 38, then reversed it, had a child at 41, and I hit menopause again at 48, again, another stressful time in my life, and I was experiencing the brain fog, the anxiety, the depression, the relationship decompositions, right? I was struggling, but also, fatigue, gaining the 5, 10, 20 pounds that seemed to happen overnight despite not doing anything different. That's what my patients would tell me. Laura, they're like, I'm gaining 5, 10, 20 pounds. I'm not doing anything different. Before I knew better, I was like, really, you're not? Really? Come on. No. But really, that happens to us. It happens to many of us. Not all of us. Some are different. But, for many of us, we'll end up with this essentially feeling like, overnight weight gain despite not doing anything different. Well, there's a energy shift, energy utilization shift there. And so this is part of the story. So as hormones, progesterone and estrogen decline in general, it's fascinating. We're still uncovering the reasons. But I started, I'm like, man, I had been over 240 pounds. Like when I started gaining weight again, I am not going to let that happen. And so I wanted to restrict my carbohydrates even more, get into ketosis, follow more of a ketogenic plan, because my detoxification plan of focusing more on alkalinization, so it tends to be higher carbs, so really push my body into ketosis. But every time I did, I would get what I call keto crazy. So that was another thing, right? So ketones are good for the brain, but I'm going keto crazy. What's missing? The missing piece was the alkalinity piece, is getting the greens on board and doing the lifestyle practices that help our body become into a more peaceful state, into a more balanced state, alkaline state, so controlling cortisol as well. I mean, I lay this out in my book in these 3 stages, but the key thing to do, a nutrition, I think, too, for you, Laura, is really focusing on getting that urine pH alkaline, getting your low-carbohydrate greens, the ones that you can do, the foods that you're able to use, and it's hydration and intermittent fasting, extending the intermittent fasting to get you into ketosis, and yet using some of my top superfoods for a keto-green lifestyle. And I can share those with you, too, if you want.
Oh, absolutely. I want you to share. I want you to share so much.
Yeah, I know. We'll get into it. We're just thinking right now, like if you can do avocado, some olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, salad dressings on your vegetables. You can add even apple cider vinegar to help break down the fibers in the vegetables, too, to help you digest them easier and to add that additional digestive support. And then microgreens, broccoli sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, the microgreens that are really rich in antioxidants and nutrients. And beet greens are one of my favorite. People throw away the beet greens. That's the most beneficial part of the plant. So really using those in just kind of a combination and watching the animal proteins that you're using for, due to some impaired fat digestion. So what do you think about trying that?
So instead of trying to up, because I don't eat bacon, right, at all. It's not that I don't love it. It's so much sodium and all the other stuff, and it just doesn't feel good to eat it. So you're saying instead of us having to eat keto in the basically eat as much jerky as you can, as much animal fats as you can do it with, say, adding olive oils and avocados and those kind of things, and having leaner cuts of meat?
Absolutely, or fish, and yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's like radically different from what everybody else is saying that keto has to be. Yeah, and this is it. For us, for women, again, honoring our body, honoring our hormone, honoring the period of life that we're in, this works. This works. And so the skill now is not snacking and intermittent fasting. So we have to get into these extended intermittent fasts. I'm doing an extended intermittent fast right now because, it's a muscle. Getting into ketosis is a muscle, and it can be a challenge in this way, but it's the healthy way to do it. I haven't eaten since 8 p.m. last night.
So what time is it now? So
that's
a 15-hour fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's perfect. That's great. And so when you break fast now, you break it with a keto-green meal. So healthy fats, lots of greens for fiber, and good protein. Fats, fiber, and protein. That's what we need to break fast. So say, for example, you said half avocado, maybe a teaspoon. We don't need a lot of MCT oil. Again, guys, men, women, we're different, and MCT oil still is packing on some energy, and we want to get into our own fat stores, unless you don't need to. Unless you're trim, bodybuilder, athletic, you're doing marathon training, whatever it is. If you don't need to get into your own fat stores, God bless you. You don't need to. I need to get into my own fat stores on a regular basis to use ketones for fuel. So we're breaking fast with like a teaspoon of MCT oil, a quarter of an avocado, add in a protein. I have a keto-green protein, which is 0 grams of sugar. We don't want to have sugar when we break fast. It's going to set us up for defeat later on in the day because we're going to have cravings and lack of willpower. So we've got greens. We've got maybe a protein powder. If you don't have a protein powder, you can do nuts, like a quarter cup of almonds, maybe some flax seeds, and then So you've got your protein and then your greens, your microgreens. I like to also put in a sliver of ginger that helps with digestion, and I love the taste of ginger, but also some microgreens and whatever I've got in the fridge, honestly. Today it's baby kale, and that will be in with water. I don't use coconut water because coconut water has too much sugar. I often hear people say, yeah, I'm making my my Keto-Green smoothie, I'm using coconut water, and I'm like, look at the carbs on coconut water. You've got to watch that still. So there's a whole range, but a heavy coconut cream or coconut milk is going to be very low in carbs, and you could use that in place too. So blend that up so that's going to be easily digestible. And also we want to make sure those flax seeds are well emulsified. So either you grind them first, or like I use my NutriBullet blender and I grind them up in my blender, with my smoothie, and that's perfect. We want them well ground. And so for the lignans and to help with estrogen detoxification if we're putting flax seeds in. So then you just blend that up. I put ice in it too. I like it chilly. And that's my morning smoothie. My daughter, who's now 11, has been drinking that smoothie. She just loves it. And so that's the way to break fast, and that's easy to digest. And then, maybe you need one or two more meals for the rest of the day. But you have the healthy fat, the protein, the fiber, the greens, and you're going to start your day off to an advantage with better energy for the rest of your day too. So a good way to break fast.
Okay, so that sounds really simple. My biggest struggle is I have a hard time finding protein powders that don't have stevia and some other things in them. So I know you have amazing products that you offer that are very, very clean and stuff. But for somebody that may be sensitive to that and say they can't do a protein powder, what could they add into that shake that would give them that protein aspect? Is there something? Or is just the nuts enough?
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's a great question. And so with my Keto-Green protein shake and Keto Alkaline protein shake, those have monk fruit sweetened. Those are monk fruit sweetened and not stevia sweetened, and still 0 grams of protein because I've used seeds, also sunflower seeds, watermelon seeds, pumpkin seeds as part of the protein base as well. So everyone can do that too. You can use a combination of seeds, and also you could use nut butter, like cashew butter. I love that. I love how that feels in there. And you can also add in some cocoa powder to get that extra chocolatey feel. That's something that I like to do periodically.
Yeah, I have some friends that they can't start their morning without their smoothie having unsweetened cocoa powder in their smoothies.
Yeah, and you can also do a raw egg. I mean, you can throw in a raw egg into your smoothies, too, for added protein and fat.
So it's not going to be like those weightlifters swallowing the raw eggs. You've got the better flavors and everything in it.
You got to make it taste good. I'm sorry, you got to make it taste good.
All right, so what I'm hearing, and this is intriguing for me because I have friends that have done really, really well on keto. I have friends that have done horribly on keto. Some of them tried it and they were stuck in, I think it's called the keto fog for months, but they kept saying, no, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And you look at them and they just don't look healthy. And
yeah.
I see other friends that have done the pure keto thing and they've never looked better. So how do you know I think your way is healthier, overall healthier, which is why I wanted to have you on the show talking about this book. But how do you know if something's working or not working for you? Because that's a struggle for a lot of my listeners, and not only with their health stuff, but in business. Like how do you know when you say this isn't working? Or how do you know when you say, yes, it's going to work starting tomorrow or something like that?
Yeah, and I have clients test. So, Laura, we have a 10-day Breeze Through Menopause Masterclass, which is great. It's at dranna.com/breeze, BREEZE, but just really easy. What do we have them do is just test a questionnaire, the same questionnaire that's in the book, and I have many questionnaires in the book, and I know you're all about the question.
Totally, and I love all of those questions in there. My book's so marked up.
Yes, yes. And so that's one way we gauge. Well, how is it working for me? Am I feeling better? Am I not? In my 10-day menopause, Breeze Through Menopause masterclass, we have clients take the beginning and at the end, and I collect this data. I'm like a data junkie. I want to know. It's not just me, right? It is now tens of thousands of women. And what we've seen, 90% overall improvement with a 57% reduction in symptom score in 10 days. In 10 days. So that's one way we know. We test. The other way is I encourage, as I spell it out in my book too, to urine test pH. Want to get alkaline first and then get into ketosis. And whenever I have a client like, I'm feeling brain fog or whatever, I'm like, are you acidic? Urine pH acidic or alkaline? Acidic. And I'm like, okay, get alkaline and then let me know. She gets alkaline and then goes into ketosis, feels amazing. That's the trick. But it's also, again, it's more than what we eat, it's how we live. And I think I'm working on my next book now, Laura, and I'm going to have a chapter of when, how, and who we eat with, right?
Right.
So those are things, stress is a big factor that makes us acidic too, like the vegetarians with breast cancer, right? Well, why should that be? What's going on? And then there's other factors, of course, that are involved, toxicity, etc. But our urine pH is like a measure, just like the weight on our scale is a measurement. How am I doing? Am I going in the right direction or not? It's a temperature reading. So that's why we have to check our urinary pH, and then, created the urine pH and ketone strips called keto pH strips, so that we can actually look to see that we actually are getting into ketosis. Believe it or not, many people doing these ketogenic plans never once get into ketosis because they're either having too much protein or at a high level of stress, which is also going to increase circulating glucose. So they're not getting to the benefit of using ketones for fuel. And the keto flu, that's toxins being released. That is not something to power through. Get alkaline first, then move into ketosis, you won't get the keto flu. And this is coming from many, like thousands of menopausal women who have been through it now, right? And we're the toughest of the tough.
Yeah. I've been in menopause for 3 years now, and my body has completely changed. And like you said, the whole concept of, I'm losing all this weight, and I can't tell you how many doctors have been like, well, you can't be eating right. And I show them my food log, and they're like, well, you are, so you must not be writing everything down. Like, immediately assuming that I'm lying.
Well, hey, I was there too. Like, when my patients were 5, 10, 20 pounds heavier, I'm like, really, Laura, really? And then it happened to me. Yeah, really, it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating because I go on steroids and I lose weight, and everybody's like, that's not possible. And I'm like, well, I think it must be fixing some hormone that's not working right in my body. But that's a conversation for a whole nother day. We're going ready to go into the national news break, and I want to have a thought, like an exercise for those who are listening live, to think about what they're eating right now and how far away they may be from Keto Green. Can you think of something that we can pose to them to ask themselves in the next 40 seconds?
Yeah, I want to just say, what makes you feel so good after you've eaten it versus what takes you down into a crash? Focus on the things that, like when you break fast, that really build you up, give you more energy and clarity versus brain fog. Just think of that.
Oh, I love that. So everybody that's listening live on iHeartRadio, if you're in your car, you can even do this. I'm not worried that you're going to get into an accident thinking about this. But think about what makes you feel good when you eat it, makes you mentally clear, gets rid of the fuzzies, makes your body feel good after you eat it, or after you haven't eaten, like overnight or whatever, and you eat something. What makes you not feel good? Think about that too, because if we don't start paying attention to the foods we're eating, right, Dr. Anna, and how they make us feel, we'll never be able to learn what's right for us.
Right, exactly.
But absolutely. So often we brainless eat, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're about to go into the national news break. I'm here with Dr. Anna Cabeca, and we'll be right back.
Ken Herron, and I want to tell you about Art Talks, UIB's museum chatbot. Guests add your contact to their phones. When they message a photo to Art Talks, they can ask questions with voice and text on over 30 of their favorite channels, including WhatsApp, Messenger, and more. Give your art a voice. Contact UIB today at radio1@uib.ai.
Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Welcome back, everyone. Excited to be here continuing my conversation with Dr. Anna Cabeca, the author of The Hormone Fix, Burn Fat Naturally, Boost Energy, Sleep Better, and Stop Hot Flashes, the Keto-Green Way. If you missed the first half of the show live, go catch it on podcast, anywhere podcasts are found, or go to my website, it'sallaboutthequestions.com, and you can subscribe and get notified as well when each new show comes up to podcast. If you've been listening live, you heard all the amazing things, if you're our podcast, that Dr. Anna was talking about, sharing how you can actually make keto work even more effectively and work if keto never worked for you before, by incorporating alkalinity with the Keto-Green Way. Anna, this whole concept of alkalinity, I don't think people truly understand it based on conversations I have with people. They think, oh, just drink some alkaline water or whatever and you'll be fine. But really, what does that mean? And you mentioned urinary strips beforehand, but what does alkaline really mean, and what does it mean for our bodies?
Yeah, we kind of want to give the example of experiential examples. So visualize yourself in New York City, right? Visualize yourself in industrial New York City or London, for instance. A lot of smog, fog, and exhaust fumes, right? Not a lot of green. And then visualize yourself in the Amazon. Lots of green, lush plants, waterfalls in the distance, right? Acidity, a city, versus alkalinity, the Amazon. All right, so that's kind of a visual of what it feels like. And we can have both. We really work to more in an internal balance of 80% alkaline, 20% acidic. We can use food as medicine. So these microgreens that are high in minerals and antioxidants work to have an alkalinizing effect on our body at the cellular level. Now, the blood pH, we're not changing the blood pH. I always get that question. Well, the blood pH doesn't change. Yes, it doesn't change. Thank God it doesn't change. If it moves up a little bit or down a little bit, because it will change when we're really sick. I mean, we're really sick, right? That's what I check when you come into my ER and you're like crashing. We want to look at a blood pH. We put a needle in the artery, in your wrist, your radial artery, and draw out blood, because that's as close to blood from the heart as we can get safely and quickly. And we measure that blood pH. That stays static. But what does it stay static as? At the sacrifice to minerals, muscle, bone, even in our body. And so, but our urine pH is what I measure, and I have clients measure to see what's the overall net alkaline effect in their body, or mineral status, or nutritional status, what's their cellular health. And so in order to get that, we need a lot of greens. We need beet greens, alkalinizers, and a lot of fruits and vegetables. The majority of them are all alkaline, but some have too many carbs. And so in my keto-green approach, we really stay very low carbohydrate. And so we're focusing on kale, chard, collards, and herbs like turmeric, and we drink green tea, and different things that help your body balance and fight inflammation and fight disease in your body, because inflammation also causes an acidic state. So if we think of alkalinity as this really natural state, a state of harmonious balance, that's what I want people to feel and experience. But now stress also affects our renal tubules, our mineralocorticoid receptors, and increases hydrogen excretion, causes more of an acidic urine. So if we're using our urine pH to gauge how our body is feeling and doing and being balanced, then it becomes more than about what we eat. It also becomes about how we control our stressors.
Okay. So what are some of the symptoms of your body not being alkaline?
So inflammation, aches and pains, brain fog. Oftentimes we have trouble with glucose metabolism. So, like as an experiential approach, we can also experience food craving, lack of willpower, right? Poor decision making.
So basically menopause.
So basically the symptoms of menopause, right? And I would say 90% of people that start my program are acidic when they start out, consistently acidic. We really have to make it, it's a discipline and practice to get their bodies alkaline. And that's one of the things that helps them beat those hot flashes right away, that helps them start feeling better, that helps them make the right choices right away.
Okay, so excuse me, sorry, I lost my voice there for a second. The first half of the show, we were really you gave us some great tips on like what I could do right away to break my fast, because I've been intermittent fasting. I haven't eaten since 8 p.m. last night, so we've gone a long time. And you said make a shake with really well-ground flax seeds, like a quarter of an avocado, a sliver of ginger, some nuts, microgreens, baby kale, water, protein powder, or cashew butter. But what does the rest of the day look like? I mean, to me, when I think of keto or even green, because I've played around with veganism and vegetarianism and all of that, there is so much work involved. And if you're not feeling well and you don't have that energy, because say you want to start this program to feel better, how can somebody begin doing it and not feel overwhelmed by what's involved with doing it?
Yeah, there's some easy ways, and I give a bunch of recipes and food guides and shopping lists in the book. So you might even just want to circle some things that you love that are in there. So, like, I would say some essentials to make it easy: avocado, some lunch meat, or that's from grass-fed. Think of what is your favorite protein. And fish is so easy to cook and so quick to cook. I mean, I'm coming off book launch, and making fast, healthy meals is essential. And what vegetables are really easy that you love, and prepping it, taking some time. Say, I'm going to take 2 hours on Sunday and just prep for my week. Believe me, that's all it takes. And you can prep, like, for example, if there's cauliflower, I use a food processor, actually a veggie bullet, and I love that when I'm doing a big prep. Like, when I'm so busy, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to prep. I'm going to prep fast, and I'll run everything through to chop my vegetables and everything quickly. But even now, you can go to the grocery store, and there's pre-sliced zucchini, so to make even the noodles, zucchini, I call them zoodles, zucchini noodles. They're already prepared too in the grocery store. So sometimes you can just get some of the prepped or prepared food, which is really good. And like an easy, very quick dinner is throwing in some zucchini noodles and sauteing in some scallop or some fish or a piece of chicken right in the same pan. So I'm only using one pan. Now I'll add herbs because I love spices. I'll add some flavor aromatique, some Himalayan sea salt, maybe some cumin, and I'll season those in there too. And you can also put some sesame seeds in there and douse it with either you're sauteing in ghee or so purified butter, or using butter or olive oil at the end to top it off with to add additional healthy fat. And that's a perfect, easy, quick meal. That really takes 15 minutes.
That sounds doable in most cases. I've been looking into some of these delivered, already prepared, you just heat up meals that are like from Freshly or some of those other places, but they all have way too much sodium.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for me that I know of. So people can go in, we can go to, here in Florida, Publix is one of the biggest grocery stores where we have Fresh Market. Where I am, we don't have a Whole Foods, but I know I do buy the zoodles that you talked about, the zucchini noodles already spiraled, and they have butternut squash. Is that something that's you can eat on the Keto-Green?
You can. A little bit goes a long way. Butternut squash is a little bit higher in carb, but that's almost like, again, if we're going to have carbs, we want it at the end of the meal. We want that to be our dinner meal, which we're eating certainly by 7 p.m.
Okay.
Because anytime we eat after 7 p.m., our insulin secretion increases even as much as 70% compared to a meal eaten earlier. So that means we're putting that into fat storage versus utilizing that energy right away.
Okay, even if you don't go to sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning?
Well, I don't know, but according to the research, it looks at that 7 o'clock time frame, regardless of what time you go to sleep. Yeah, it's a circadian cycle phenomenon.
All right, so let's talk about intermittent fasting. You even wrote a blog about it this morning. I checked my email before I left for the radio station. I'm like, oh, she wrote a blog about intermittent fasting. Very cool. Explain what it really is and why it's important.
Yeah, so one thing that I emphasize, especially for women, and if we have to, is to intermittent fast between dinner and breakfast. So it means stop eating after dinner and begin eating when you break fast. And really we need 13 to 15 hours between dinner and breakfast on average. So the research shows that in a study that looked at, it was published in 2016, looking at women who had breast cancer, and if they had at least 12.5 or 13 hours between dinner and breakfast, they had a significantly reduced risk of recurrence. Significantly reduced risk of recurrence. So every woman listening needs to adapt this because, we, number one, don't want to get breast cancer to begin with either. So 13 to 15 hours, that's in my protocol. On an average base, we can increase and decrease depending on lifestyle and living, right? But on average, 13 to 15 hours between dinner and breakfast, that gets us into a fasting state. Ideally, we'll once we exercise that ketogenic muscle enough, we may tap into our ketones depending on how our day was or how many carbs we had the day or night before. But that really is a time to get our body into autophagy to help it do its house cleaning. Essentially, you're just giving it time for house cleaning. And that's a really good thing. Another thing is I have women restrict their fluids between dinner and bedtime. Wake up, drink a tall glass of fluid. But so many of us have broken sleep, getting up once or twice in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and we don't need that. And also, once we eat our dinner meal, we need our digestive enzymes to digest that meal. When we drink on top of that, we dilute our digestive enzymes, and we dilute the breakdown of that food. So we push it through partially digested, we dilute our nutrients from it, etc. There's issues with it. But also, if we fluid restrict, so I say 1 hot cup of tea at bedtime, we are not going to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. We're just not. We're going to sleep better and sounder. So that's another lifestyle benefit to intermittent fasting and fluid restriction between dinner and bedtime too. Adding that in.
That leads me to a question. I always feel like I'm in a state of dehydration no matter how much water I drink. How much water should somebody drink during a day, and what's the best way to feel hydrated when you're drinking water? Because that's so critical, it sounds like, to everything that you're doing with the Keto-Green Way is hydration as well.
Right. In between meals, not with our meals. So that's one thing. Hydrate in between meals, not with our meals, because we don't want to dilute our digestive processes. And so that's number one. Number two is to know how hydrated you are, is to look at your urine. Is it clear? When it's clear, you're most likely well hydrated. When it's, very concentrated, tinted quite yellow or cloudy in appearance, you're very dehydrated. You can be dehydrated. You need more fluids. So that's something to look at. How translucent is your urine? And because we're going to need different amounts, but to feel hydrated, because oftentimes hunger is thirst in disguise. So to feel well hydrated, also, depending on the type of water we're drinking. I know our tap water here in Georgia, we have high amounts of chlorine in our tap water, not to mention who knows what else. But I don't drink the tap water. But on occasion where I've been traveling and I've drank tap water or whatever water, I definitely don't feel as hydrated. So I use alkaline water in between my meals, and for the most part, all my water is filtered, reverse osmosis filter, slightly alkaline, and I feel very hydrated with 6 to 8 glasses of water a day for sure. And so a typical rule of thumb is half your ideal body weight in ounces of water. So,
half your ideal body weight, not your current body weight.
Well, because let's think of that realistically. If someone's 300, because I had to think of that because I've always heard half your body weight, right? I'm like, well, if someone's 300 pounds, they're going to drink 150 ounces of water. Are you serious? I mean, why would that be good? And it's actually, that's not necessary. Their blood volume is not significantly more than someone at 200 pounds, right?
Right.
So we need to look, let's just look and see and also someone in Arizona versus someone here in Southeast Georgia where we're so humid, there's a different requirement as well. So again, checking your urine to see what do you specifically need.
Is there a difference in how your body absorbs water if you put lemon in it or if you put cucumber or something in it?
I don't know, but if you enjoy it more, you're going to drink it more. Okay. So I think that's a good rule of thumb. I love fresh lemon, fresh lime, and I love even some, putting in a slice of strawberry or a slice of cucumber. So refreshing. Even ginger in your water, I love it.
One day I threw some celery stalks in water, and I just kept drinking the water throughout the day, and I was like, oh my God, this tastes so good.
There you go. If you love it, you will drink it more. So absolutely, I'm all good with that.
Okay, that sounds really good. All right, so the hormone aspect of the Keto-Green Way. I know that one of my biggest issues is my cortisol constantly is so completely whacked. And you had a little bit of a conversation about this at the beginning of the show, but how does the Keto Green aspect that you're talking about really affect the key hormones in the body?
So ketosis is going to help us, getting into ketosis healthfully is going to help us become more insulin sensitive. Now, that's going to help a lot of our menopausal symptoms as well, the weight gain, the hot flashes, etc. Insulin sensitivity, we have the better overall hormone stability. The second is the alkalinity piece, is managing cortisol. Managing cortisol, because it's not just about what we eat, it's about the stresses. How much cortisol are we secreting? What kind of state or environment are we living in or perceived to be living in, right? Because we can live in a war-torn area and still be very stress managed, right? Very happy, right? So it's our perception of stress more so than the stresses themselves. So that's the cortisol piece. And then I have a whole section in my book about oxytocin, our master hormone. I call that our master hormone. Now, I've gone through a stage of complete oxytocin deficiency, complete withdrawal and burnout and depression, after the loss of my son, as you can imagine. And if I honestly say, the eyes don't see what the mind don't know. And it's true, because when I would never have incorporated any of this into my teachings, into my book, into my programs that I give if I hadn't lived it myself and experienced it. I had to figure out why I was experiencing it. And this oxytocin deficiency piece was huge. And then once I saw it in myself, that's what led to my breakdown of relationships, even divorce, even burnout in my profession that I love. I could see it in so many other cases. And then once you can call it by name, you can treat it. You can intervene. You can, take some of the guilt, the burden, the shame, the pressure off of yourself, and then do the next right step. And so that, I just had someone text me last night, so I just read your chapter 8. Thank you so much. I now understand what happened to me. And that's powerful. Oxytocin is the most powerful hormone. That's what I want to put in the driving seat of everyone's life, everyone who's listening. Oxytocin, I want oxytocin in your driver's seat. That hormone of bonding, connection, love, enjoyment, pleasure.
Yeah, and chapter 8 is Stop Stress from Stressing You Out, everybody, which is one of my biggest issues, and reading what I had read in your book really helped me with that as well. And it's fascinating to me because you talk about things that nobody's really talking about. I don't care what anybody says. Menopause is still a dirty word. And the lead up to menopause is still a dirty word too, because women go through so many symptoms and we're just told, oh, it's in your head, or you can't be eating what you're eating. You must not be exercising. You must not what? And we know what we're doing and we're not being listened to. So to read a book, for you to put this book out, and I know you're, a triple board certified gynecologist, a menopause hormone expert, you're internationally acclaimed for your work, but you're going against what a lot of other people are saying. But you're speaking to the reality in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, I've seen it. I've practiced medicine. I've been in medicine for nearly 30 years, right? So I've done it wrong, and I'm doing it right now, and that's the whole thing. What I've seen happen, women, and it's there's multiple levels to blame in the way we take care of women in this transition period. Number one, there's a very few studies, and the big studies just didn't do well in women, right? Women's Health Initiative, Hearst trial, they kind of fell flat on their face, but there's still some good stuff that we gleaned from them. So in general, Big Pharma is not going to put millions and millions of dollars to study women because what the heck, what are they going to get out of it? It took Wyatt Ayers nearly, years to recover from the Hearst trial and Women's Health Initiative trial, right? So we have to think of that. But so ultimately, what I want to do, what I wanted to do since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a physician from age 6. I wanted to be a healer, a doctor, a physician, right? To me, that meant helping people get better, right? Not masking the symptoms. We have to stop masking the symptoms. We are doing more harm than good. My mom passed away at age 67 on 11 medications. Not 2 of them were studied together. Now we know that we are giving medications, anti-anxiety medications, benzos, Xanax, Valium, Ativan, right? All these benzos. And then anticholinergics. So to help you stop from getting up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, we give you anticholinergics. What do we know about all those 3? Increasing our risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. What are those 3 things symptoms of? Now we know. Impaired glucose utilization of the brain. How do we overcome that? Get into a state of ketosis. Get Keto-Green, because we need the minerals on board to balance our hormones and control cortisol. That's key. And what happens? Wow, life is beautiful again. There's multiple colors. We've gone from the caterpillar to the butterfly. I had a patient come in, just brings to mind right now on this beautiful sunny day. She came in and she says, Dr. Anna, I definitely want to come out of the cocoon as a beautiful butterfly, not a moth. Help me out here.
I actually mentioned to a friend of mine after you and I had a conversation shortly after your book came out, he gets a lot of seizures. And you had mentioned to me randomly that Keto-Green and keto diet in general can really help people who have seizures because it helps reset certain patterns in the brain. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating. And he's reading your book now. And they're in the process of moving to a new house, and he's got to talk to his wife about trying to figure out how they can bring that into their daily diet and everything. And he's just so excited about it. We know we talk about food healing, but it's really, really important. And we're getting close to the end of the show, so I want to make sure people know how to get your book, how to reach out to you. I know you have lots of resources, including some master classes and some freebies for people.
Yeah. So I would definitely invite people to please, get my book and read it, and then let me know how you like it. So it's The Hormone Fix. It's available everywhere books are sold. So all Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Amazon, you name it. And join me on my website. But definitely come to my masterclass, dranna.com/breathe. There's 10 days of mini videos, 5 to 10 minute videos. Yes, it was a challenge to keep me that short on a daily basis, but just the pearls and principles that we all just need to help us, those aha moments, right? Those things that have taken me, decades to learn and implement that really work. So put those out there as well to just experientially go through with an accountability group. I have my Keto-Green community. So creating community, doing it together. So I would encourage all of you that are listening to get some friends and do this together. Kind of make it your Bible study, make it your book, what's it called, book club. Make it, incorporate it into your lifestyle and see what a difference it makes. I guarantee you'll feel better.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, as always. Love talking with you, Laura. Thank you.
Same here. So everybody go to the website, dranna.com, DRANNA.com, and get some free resources. You go to /Breeze. There's her masterclass. Her book, The Hormone Fix, is everywhere books are sold. USA Today bestseller and #1 Amazon bestseller. I love the work. I think it's really amazing, and it really is all about the questions, and she poses us some great ones. So remember, everybody, the right questions can change your life. So what are you asking today? Have a great day, everyone. See you next week.
You've been listening to It's All About the Questions, starring Laura Stewart. Connect with Laura at it'sallaboutthequestions.com and download a free workbook that will help you ask better questions starting today.